I knew if I continued living it, I was going to be a dead woman. Getting into a relationship with somebody that ended up trafficking me, that became the place where my rebirth happened.
Rebirth is not an easy process. One lifestyle that has been going on for such a long time. And then this reset button got hit.
I have tons of the work that I had done, but it had never solved the problem. Because like you're saying, I had to figure out what is causing this continuous cycle. I do life coaching now and helping other women who have gone through trauma.
That is very powerful.
My psychologist told me that you don't need...
Situations don't worry me.
So zero panic attacks. Brilliant.
I'm able to do more.
Phenomenal change in a very short period of time.
I can't just describe it was how good it has been.
Oh, there's a huge difference.
I'm happy I'm feeling better.
Hi, Susan. A very warm welcome. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. It's lovely to have you here. And I'm very keen and excited to know about such a powerful story of yours, such a powerful life journey. I'm sure my audience would also like to understand more about such a inspirational transformation journey that you have. How are you feeling right now?
I'm excited to be here to get to share. It's been a long process, but it has been an amazing process. And to be standing or be where I am right now, many times I just shake my head like, wow, how? I'll just start. I'm an occupational therapist. And I have to say, by the grace of God, I got to come back after all of the trauma and craziness, got the opportunity to come back and be an occupational therapist. Almost lost the opportunity to do that. But by God's grace, I do life coaching now and helping other women who have gone through trauma. I tend to deal with a lot more the convoluted traumas, making an impact in helping people see there is life beyond trauma. There is hope in a future. You don't have to be re-traumatized for the rest of your life.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful work that you're doing, helping others transform their lives. So let me ask you, how and where did it all start for you? Because to be able to help others, I'm sure you have dealt with a lot of trauma yourself, and you've spoken a lot about it in the book. But from your perspective, where did it all start? What did you have to go through? And your confidence, which is helping others now. What's your backstory?
If I were to break it all down, it would be longer than the Sanguine book series, which is like 170 books. So I'll touch on some of the major themes of trauma throughout my life. Really, it started very early and really kicked me into a addiction lifestyle, with my highest and most profound addiction being sex addiction. In reality, most women are not willing to admit and identify with that, and it's a man's addiction. And yet, more women than I can count struggle with that because of being impacted by sexual things from childhood or from their high school years, and it just sets a cycle up. So that really started early for me. Then I ended up living this dichotomous life of being the good Christian girl, going to church and looking like a good Christian girl, and yet having this life of addiction on the other side. I talk about it in my book, culminating into just crazy. A lot of people, when they would hear it, would go, what? What I thought was my normal. I thought everybody lived a life like I was living. But it ended up including a lot of traumatic experiences, and not just one-time experiences like living in the gangs, sex addiction in many different ways, and drug and alcohol, everything. How do you go through what you're going through without something to medicate the pain? I played with balance the duality of here I'm going and I also have a ministry degree. And yet I ended up getting kicked out of ministry school because of my sex addiction. This whole back and forth all throughout my life. And it led up to a few years ago, the pinnacle of the downfall of all those years, and getting into a relationship with somebody that trafficking me. And this is as an adult. I got into getting trafficked and ultimately being pretty much forced, manipulated, coerced, and believing it was all because of love into committing a crime. That became the pivot point for my life.
So, am I understanding this correctly? That yes, all of us go through a lot of experiences in our life, but then there needs to be a hard lesson which comes, hey, you're going in the wrong direction. Did you experience that hard lesson from life? No, stop going in this direction. I want you to turn around, take a look at yourself and turn it around.
Yes. Honestly, I went through numerous that would have stopped me throughout my life, and would jump into counseling and all these different things only to either re-traumatize myself and jump back into that world again, or be judged so harshly. But this last experience, it was definitely the nail in the coffin. It was, if I don't change, I will be a dead woman. And in the chapter, I give the pivot point of, it was 6 feet under or commit a crime kind of thing. And I don't even think I realized that was the last straw until I was incarcerated. And then it was like, oh my gosh, now what? Like my life is over. Only to realize, no, it was the reset button that God needed me to have. I pray most people don't have to go to that extreme. I was ignorant and little hard-headed, but that became the place where my rebirth happened, which is why I so connected with this book, because I truly was reborn.
Beautiful. But as we know, rebirth is not an easy process, right?
No.
It takes a lot. So here you are with one set of habits, one personality, one lifestyle that has been going on for such a long time. And then this reset button got hit. Now you have to change. What was it like to get out from underneath your own habits and burdens and lifestyle and slowly reform yourself into a new person that you are today?
There's a scripture that says, it's not I that live, but Christ that lives in me. And that became a big piece. I knew if I continued living it, I was going to be a dead woman in a very quick time frame, because I never went of it to a lesser level. I always outdid the previous level of destruction in my life. And so there wasn't much more room to go other than death. I had to make a decision that I had to die to who I thought I had been for those 40 plus years. I had to be willing to let that person go for something better. For me, that experience was, it's not I that live, but Christ that lives in me. Learning, what does that mean? I grew up in church. I have a ministry degree, but I had always been in that double life. I didn't really understand the concept of what does it mean to have Christ living in me and moving and working through me and truly having forgiven me completely. That I don't have to keep judging myself because he's not. So I had never grasped that concept. I knew it, but it was here, not here. And that's what ended up making the change for me. Because without allowing that person who I had identified with go, I could not become a new person. And that new person could only be formed with Christ in me.
That is very powerful. I'm a healer and transformation mentor. What you just described, we call it ego death, as in the old unconscious persona completely dying. So like a phoenix, a higher version, a better version of you emerges. That's a powerful process, not an easy process at all. If you are stuck in an unpleasant reality and want to break free, discover your highest spiritual truth, live your purpose, and create generational wealth by helping others, then check out this revolutionary book, Quantum Wealth Code. So I would like to ask you, this old persona that has to die, it just doesn't die quietly. Today you decided, nah, I'm not that person anymore, and it's just gone. It doesn't work like that. It's coming back up. Every day, changing its form, with new excuse, new temptation. What was that journey like, knowing I am somebody new now, that's my old persona, but it's creeping in, trying to fool you from this angle, from that angle, this excuse, that excuse. So how did you stay centered and aligned to this new version, new path where you were moving up higher?
That is an amazing question. And it's been a process in the healing steps that I feel like God took me through, not only while I was in jail, but in the many years after that. It was learning that I did spend a lot of time reading the Bible and learning it from a perspective, like getting into the real depths of it. Also just realizing I don't need to live in the shame and in the blame, and I don't have to own them. And they still try to creep into my mind. If I start judging myself like, oh, I haven't done this and I haven't done that, and get away from the fact that I am loved, whether I do the work or not, that I'm forgiven, I had to learn to reframe the way I thought of the traumas. Because in the past, it was always analyzing them and figuring out, why did I get there? I've gone through like 100 counselors trying to figure this out, and it never got me anywhere. And it was when I began in my life coaching program, I work with people to, what capacity do you have now because you went through that trauma? And finding how to find your strength in the traumas you went through, which is a very different way of framing them, because we didn't go through what we went through to throw them away. We survived because God had a greater plan for us. And if we don't take that time to figure out, what did I learn from having gone through those things? Instead of, oh, it's me. I can't believe I went through that. You know what? Now I know how to identify this. I can catch that before other people catch it because I've been there. Those kinds of things, as you analyze and look at the traumas and the experience, good and bad, but we don't take the time to, I've heard it say, suck it dry of what those experiences have for us. So we have to repeat them until we do.
So would you say you understanding your own multidimensional consciousness is what helped you transform? Let me explain what I mean. Most people go around in the world being an identity. Oh, I am so and such in the world, right? Whatever your title, your designation, your worldly identity. But there's a world within us, a world of emotions, a world of thoughts, a world of inner creation. And in my experience, all these traumatic thoughts, memories, they keep coming till we learn what they are based out of, why they are coming, how to see them, and how to put them in the right perspective. Most people blame the world. Hey, because of this happening in the world, I'm struggling, I'm suffering, I'm in pain. Whereas all it needs is for us to turn around and go, how am I relating to everything that is happening in me, that has happened with me, and that I want to come in the future? When we are able to see this in the right perspective, it's like a tangled knot inside. When we turn around, take time to detangle by understanding why there are knots, why is there a tangle, what aspect of me is burdened by this tangle, and how can I slowly unravel this and find clarity and peace. So did you go through this phase where you had to realize, okay, I'm more than just an identity. I have something much deeper within me, which you just mentioned, Christ. What was that inner turnaround? How did you get to understand your own depth?
Really taking the time to not just, again, that woe is me, getting out of that. But like I said, I had gone through so much counseling, so many support groups, so much in all my life. Like I had tons of the work that I had done, but it had never solved the problem. Because like you're saying, I had to figure out what is it in me that is causing this continuous cycle. And again, it comes back to realizing I was known before I was ever born. I'm going to go a little deep here. So I was known before I was ever born. Scripturally, it says we were known before we were even in our mother's womb. And it came from a understanding that just as much as God knew me, that the enemies in this world knew me as well, that there was a target on my back from day one. These are the kind of thoughts that I had to work on. This wasn't always about I was defective, but maybe it was about the fact that there was something really powerful I was meant to do. And the enemy knew that as well. The attacks that came from that young age were like assassination attempts by the enemy to stop who I'm supposed to be. I kept identifying it as I'm a failure. And in this process of healing was being able to reach a point of saying, I need to stop looking at this mirror and saying, I am a mess up, I'm a failure, I keep messing up, and recognize I keep making it through all of this. And I'm gonna continue to make it through. As I worked through figuring out who I really am, not based on the experiences I've had, a boldness and a confidence began to rise within me that I've made it through. I'm not stuck in anything I've been in. I still have breath in my lungs, which means I still have purpose. I had to really work through those mental processes of where I had spent my whole life beating myself up, listening to everybody else's, you're a failure, you always mess up. And I'm a strong woman because I've made it through all this. I don't know if that's answering it. That was a very deep question you asked.
Let me unpack this a little bit for my audience. She brought up so many important points in this last 5 minutes, which I would like to unravel one by one. One thing is, as she said, as I continue to understand myself and realize myself, I realize so many different things. Key point that I really teach is self-realization. Unless you know who you are, what you are, other people's projections will always come. You are defective, you are faulty, you have to be blamed for this. Are you going to buy into those narratives or are you going to stand in your strength? What decides this? This is primarily decided by how well you know yourself. How much are you in touch with your own self, with your own core? And when you are in touch with your own self, that is where you realize your purpose. When we live purposelessly, any gust of wind can throw you off in a wrong direction. Anybody's projection, anybody's criticism can shake your foundation. But once you're aligned with your purpose, once there is a higher purpose to your life, then all these winds can come and go. I'm still alive. That means I have a purpose, as you beautifully said right now. That's the real power in my view. I see a lot of people are just chasing career, chasing money without understanding the fundamentals. Like, this is all just a projection of society. You need to have $1 million home to be respected. You need to be driving a swanky car to be respected. People get caught up in that narrative, in that trap, and they're chasing craziness. Whereas when we come in alignment with our purpose, when we realize that the larger creation, call it God, call it universe, call it cosmos, has put me together the way I am today, put me through all these challenges that I have experienced so that I can shape up the way I am today, there is value in this. There are people who are desperate to get this value from me so that they can transform their lives. That's where I sit powerfully in my purpose. Yeah, there's a larger purpose to my existence over here. There's a larger purpose to all the challenges that I've been through. Because this composite experience of me going through all the ups and downs, understanding life, whichever way it has turned out, and then me having to figure out how to heal it, this is of profound importance to a lot of people. That's why I've been put through the journey that I've been put through. Would you agree? What do you say, Susan?
Most definitely. I would not be the person I am today had I not gone through what I went through. And the depth of understanding that I have, the insights that I have, the ability, as I love to say, to see beyond what I see is because of having gone through what I went through, as well as seeing beyond what I see in the aspect of what everybody looked and judged me as, and they didn't know what was going on because they were too busy just seeing what they saw. I often say an outward expression of an inward issue. Look at anybody now and just see what I see. I look in those eyes, what do they say? Your eye is the window to the soul. And that is something that when you've been through it, you can actually look and see in a way somebody who hasn't.
Beautiful. As I always say, life happens in profundity, not on the surface. Is just a mirage.
Oh, yeah. And you can paint yourself however you want to be.
Yeah. So last question before I give a gift. If you are feeling stuck in your life or career, overworked, underpaid, and wondering if you'll ever be able to break free, what if I told you that by aligning with your purpose and being of service to others, you can live a joyful, fulfilling life where you can not only replace your salary addiction, but scale it to making 6-7 figures without the hustle and grind? Sounds impossible, isn't it? That's why we have created a free mini course that will walk you through the strategy and the framework. Claim it now because it's available for a limited time only. Link in the description box below. If you are feeling stuck in your life or career, overworked, what would you say to somebody who is going through it right now, who is not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel yet? They are going through it. It feels hard. It feels dark. It feels painful. Having the thoughts, maybe I should just give up. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe I should just quit. Life is so hard. What would your message be for somebody who is in that space in life right now?
No matter where you are right now, no matter where you've been, God has a plan to take that brokenness, pain, that heaviness, and that overwhelming wanting to give up, God is going to take that and make it something beautiful. You have breath in your lungs. You are waking up every day. And if God didn't know that he still has purpose for you, you wouldn't. And it wouldn't be an issue. He wants you to push through and know that no matter how bad this situation looks right now, sitting in a maximum security jail cell, looking at 15 years, I never in a million years could imagine how God would have transformed that into what I'm doing today. But I just got up every day. I pushed through. I said, I don't understand, but I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other until God, you reveal to me and help me get through this. So don't give up. You've already made it through everything you've come to now. Don't give up now. Look how far you've come so far. And there's only up from here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very well said. It was an amazing conversation. So just for my viewers, we have co-authored a book, Susan, I, and a group of powerful authors who have journeys that go into the depths of darkness and that reach back to the heights of light, love, enjoyment, celebrating life. This book is called Rebirth. If you want to know how so many people, these powerful authors who have gone through these challenges, what was the mindset? What made them push through? What made them turn the whole thing around? Then look out for this book. This book is releasing soon. So Susan, thank you so much for opening up, for sharing your journey, for inspiring and motivating so many people where there are challenges in their lives, but looking at an example of a life like you, where it is possible to turn everything around. Being in that maximum security prison cell, looking at 15 years, spending next 15 years, I'm going to have to be here, to coming to now, helping others transform their lives. That's a powerful journey. That's a beautifully lived life. I'm sure you are going to go on helping so many others. Thank you, Susan. It was absolutely lovely hosting you today. And keep up the good work. Really proud of what you're doing. And very excited and looking forward to the book release. If you want to recover and heal from the impacts of the toxic corporate grind, then please check out our online store for deeply healing and life transformative offerings. If you suffer from sleep problems, a guided Brahmanidra or quantum sleep journey will not only help you get a deeply restorative sleep, it will also enable cellular regeneration and deeply heal you while you sleep. Or if you want to experience the deep peace that lies beyond the constant chatter of the mind, and experience the clarity that comes from bringing equanimity to your mind, then the guided Samadhi experience will help you unlock deep peace and tranquility within, regardless of your external circumstances. Check out the Reality Simplified store for more revolutionary and life transformative offerings.